I'm going to go over to you, Catherine, because I think as we hear the very, very sobering statistics that Pam just shared with us, it really begs the question to hear from you, Catherine, a case study. Can you tell us the statistics versus the on-the-ground story that you can share?
So my story and my path are by no means a straight line. You know the Yogi Berra quote, when you get to the fork in the road, take it? That's me. I would begin by saying I'm very blessed that I had parents and family who let their kids pursue their interests and not dictate where they went with that. So, like Dawn, I was always interested in science as a kid. I was always late for school watching Gemini and Apollo rocket launches. I wanted to be John Glenn for a while. Then it went to the other space. I wanted to be Jacques Cousteau for a while. But then it sort of matured. My father's sister became my idol and role model. She lived in Brazil, but she was a chemist who worked at a cosmetic company. And when she visited, she was just this really hip, fresh lady who was really smart. So now fast forward a little bit, and I always tell this story, and this is what I think really leads to why I'm where I am today. I'm a proud graduate of Immaculate Heart High School, like Meghan Markle. Although she was 25 years behind me. But we were taught, mentored, and empowered. Every graduate from Immaculate Heart will tell you they were empowered by the faculty of Immaculate Heart, who in the 60s and 70s were known, I kid you not, as the rebel nuns of Hollywood. They just had a different bent on life, and that attitude carried through to all of us graduates. When we got out in the real world didn't think the way we did, but we didn't care. I was able to do some really cool science when I was there. My fondest memory of high school was making a water barometer by running 33 feet of tie-down tubing up the fire escape. I also got to write. I wrote a fantasy about a trio of trolls. I won't go into that. But I decided to focus on veterinary medicine initially for my career, and I wanted to be a zoo vet. So I have a very interesting blip on my resume that I worked for 2 years as a zookeeper at the Los Angeles Zoo. Yes, I did.
That didn't come up in my research.
I went to the University of Southern California, and I double majored in chemistry and biology. Chemistry was my backup at the time, because if I didn't get into veterinary school, I was going to go work in industry as a chemist. I didn't get into UC Davis. Fate sort of stepped in next, because I ended up teaching high school for 3 years. And that is really where I found my passion in academics. So I taught 1 year of mathematics at Immaculate Heart, and I had great mentors in teaching. And then I taught 2 years at Daniel Murphy High School in Los Angeles, which was an all-boys Catholic school run by Dominican brothers. There were 4 women on the faculty. And I should say I taught chemistry, honors chemistry, physical science, physics, honors biology, and I chaired the science department as well. And oh yeah, I said it was an all-boys school. So that was a really interesting training ground for me. But I decided to go back to graduate school. I really missed my chemistry and being in the lab bench. And so being schizo, I went, after being Trojan, I went to UCLA to get my master's in and so I majored in physical chemistry. I'm a biophysical chemist. My research area has been structural molecular biology, drug design, protein engineering. So this is why I'm very close to the biotech industry here in San Diego. But I decided I wanted the best of both worlds. I wanted to stay in academia, but I wanted to do research and teach, which is why I targeted the California State University. So that's what led me to Cal State Fullerton, where I was charged with developing the physical chemistry program for all the biochemistry students, as Natalie knows. So, and then you heard the rest of my story in the introduction. So your question about challenges. I think one of the biggest challenges that I've had and still have, is maintaining my identity as a woman and a scientist. They're not supposed to be mutually exclusive, but expected behaviors and stereotypes tend to cloud that, even to this day. You know, I get comments about, you don't look like a chemist. Scientists are not always warm and fuzzy, we know that, right? Okay, and the story, my first day on the job as dean, the phone rings in the office. And I answer the phone, I said, Dean's office, Cal State San Marcos. And this voice on the other end, a male voice, says, is the new dean there? I want to talk to him. And I said, she is in. How may I help you? Silence. So I handle a lot of this with humor. That's how I deal with it, and it seems to work. So, What I would say to you, I don't have the numbers, but in the California State University, there must be something in the water, because there's a lot of women deans in the sciences, and there's a growing number of women deans, about a third of them now in engineering. So we're doing something right. I don't know what it is, but I'll find out and get back to you.
So since I really want to know if you are among those statistics, Dr. Kang, I'm going to ask the question again. Did you in your climb, besides the phone call, ever experience harassment or discrimination?
That's a good question. Not overtly, but I had to put up with the typical cutesy remarks, the put-down remarks, insensitive remarks, but I would say nothing that I would classify as foundationally malicious or malintent. In graduate school, there was a faculty member who hit on all the female graduate students on the floor. And in hindsight, I don't think we handled it well. We kind of treated it like he was the joke, you know? It's like, oh, did he hit on you today? Okay, yeah, whatever, you know? And we kind of played it. I just didn't maintain close contact with that person. I didn't have to. The irony is I dealt with that person for many years professionally after that, because we were in the same field, and I'd run into him at meetings and he would still be pulling the same crap, you know, so. But I was stalked twice as a faculty member, once male, once female, believe it or not. And that was a harassing experience because I was being followed around by this older male student. I was brand new in Fullerton, animal doesn't even know this. And one day, I used to run 10Ks when I used to run at the track at the university. And one afternoon, this guy came and didn't assault me, but he followed me to the track and was trying to put his arm around me, whatever. So I made a beeline to the university police to go file the report. And I walked in, and the officer says to me, well, what did you say to him and what were you wearing? And I will summarize my comments with just this. Seriously? Do not want to go there. You know? So the young woman that stalked me used to try to follow me home several times and did a bunch of other strange things. So the harassment with this was nobody knew what to do because they hadn't physically harmed me. Well, we can't do anything. They haven't hurt you. Well, they're going to hurt me. I need some help. So that was always a very frustrating experience.
I'm sorry that happened, and I feel more sorry for them than I do you. You are not warm and fuzzy when you're attacking me, okay? You talk about the science's disposition. But anyway, let me now, and thank you very much, everyone, for opening up and sharing your story. What I'd like to do now is shift the discussion to some of the audience. I'd like to hear from some folks if you have some questions, and the conditions I ask are A, introduce yourself, your name, your organization, and then share with us your question for the panel.
And there's actually a microphone right here if you want to come up.
And the person that has the most provocative question from this panel is going to be the proud recipient of this just new out book, Protopio, by Emily Chang, who is the anchor for Bloomberg Tech TV, who was the keynote at our Pinnacle Awards. So, who's stepping up with that incentive? And remember, tonight's theme is to experience empowerment. Let's have a provocative discussion. Let's take advantage of the women that have come up here to share their story so that we may all learn and benefit.
I started I rate the race.
It's a race. It's a race. And she gets the Rotopia book.
Thank you for coming. Thank you guys for coming.
I'm Tracy Lincoln. I'm a group leader of molecular screening at agricultural biotech of SIVA. Two things. The last two panels really touched on, well, not a nerve, but I guess we have a common thread. I also am an immigrant. I'm a Jamaican national, and something that you said really struck me, which is sometimes you don't really know what it is. Is it the woman thing? Is it the black person thing? Is it the immigrant thing? And you don't really know what you're being discriminated, or where the discrimination lies. But you know, what you said as well, as in like the barrier of low expectations. Because I've been like a tutor before, and people walk in a room and they're like, well, where's the tutor? You know, not knowing that it could be me. But what I see throughout the panel is such a defiant optimism. And I kind of just, I'm a very optimistic person, and I kind of just want you guys to talk about, I think it really is bad for us as women to sit and live with the heaviness of it. And I just want if you guys could go on and talk a little bit more about, sort of this like audacity to be optimistic in the field.
Thank you.
Thank you for that question.
One of the things I'll say, I said I was educated by the rebel nuns of Hollywood. Those women instilled in us a strong sense of self and a courage of conviction that has enabled us to maintain that optimism and that audacity, I think you said. It's that gumption that even though you find yourself in a room, in a meeting where there's no man, I mean, there were faculty meetings sometimes where I was the only woman in the room, that you look around and you think, oh, well, okay, I'll deal with it. You have that emotional intelligence that you know you belong there and you're just going to fight through it. One of the things that I was reminded about when you asked about discrimination, and I'd like to turn the tables and ask the audience a question. How many of you women have been discriminated by other women? That was my biggest discrimination, actually. And I don't want to say critically. It's largely generational. I really believe firmly, which is why I'm a dean. I wanted to get high enough in the ranks that I could change the rules and change the culture. And I had to do that. I'm a fighter. But I've dealt with women who, it was hard for them. And so when I was starting out in academia, their attitude was, hey, you just have to buck it up and be tough because we had to do that too. And then there was a fear there that when we would do well, they would do well, but don't do better than me kind of thing. Because they were really scared. And I had women, I don't have any children, but I had women colleagues who took time out to have children, and some of their women colleagues treated them like their brains had turned to cottage cheese or something. So I'm really proud now of the fact that I have women colleagues in the sciences who their kids proudly go, yeah, my mom is a mom scientist, that's cool. I'm glad we've gotten to that point. So that's my optimism. We're not where we need to be, but to your point, we need to keep focusing on the positive and what's possible and not dwell on